Hello everybody. Today we're taking a look at Stock Ticker. It's an easy to learn, fun stock market themed dice game, first published in 1937 by Canada Games. Interesting publisher's name. So about 6 months ago, slightly before I started making YouTube videos, I was walking to work and it was a gray, dark, glum, miserable day, rainy, as I passed by a tipped over trash can, walking past an alley next to a plaza. And this is in a rough part of town. And I noticed a skunk or a raccoon had torn open a garbage bag and strewn all kinds of trash across the sidewalk. Really gross stuff, too. And I happened to notice like play money or monopoly money blowing across the street and running down the gutter next to the sidewalk. So I took a closer look and I saw it was from Stock Ticker. And then I saw the half chewed spaghetti stained game board hanging out of a trash bag, just laying right there on the street. And I just laughed and I said, aha, I know that game. I really like it. And I would have had the best thumbnail for a board game review ever. I would have taken a pic and used it. Can you imagine? But I know what you're thinking. So what, right? You found an old game right where it belongs, in the trash. But it's not true. I've had tons of fun playing this game over the years, so let me show you how it works. In Stock Ticker, the object of the game is to buy and sell shares in different asset categories so that after a set number of game rounds, you end up with more wealth than the other players in your game. Each turn, players must decide what to buy and sell before multiple rolls of customized D6s drives your market up or down. There are no stop losses in Stock Ticker, so it's often difficult to manage all the fluctuations you encounter and the adverse price swings that you experience. Players have to weigh risks against potential rewards each turn, kind of like how it is in real life, honestly. Anyway, the game has been republished at least 3 times by different companies, but the essence of it remained the same, even if its presentation changed. There's even an online version at Game Table now, I believe, but the question is, are old copies of this title still worth picking up? If you see one for cheap at a yard sale or online or in someone's garbage can, I say yes. I don't see why not, especially if you're interested in simple entry-level market-themed games. So here's how it works. And I love the rules too. This game can be explained in like 8 sentences, literally. So each player gets $5,000 to start. Players can buy or sell shares in bundles of 500 units, or rather increments of 500. Each stock begins at $1 per share. After every player has a chance to buy or sell a stock, multiple die rolls determine what goes up or down in price. If you own something that goes above $1, there's a chance that it will pay a dividend. And if a stock hits $2, it splits. You get double the shares, but then the new price resets back to par, $1. And if a stock drops to zero, you have to surrender your shares for $0, and then the price will reset to $1 on the next turn. And that's it. That's the game. And I've played this game a lot, and I've never actually seen any splits or defaults, but I've definitely seen nail-biting close calls in either direction. Anyway, before we take a closer look at the components, the dice, the stock chart in particular, I first have to admit that my original copy of the game fell apart, and I remember the original components were pretty flimsy and cheap anyway, but it certainly didn't help that I stored my game on a basement shelf for many, many years until one day I go to pull it out and it was all warped and mildew ridden and water damaged, and nothing else on the shelf was affected miraculously. So it was just an isolated zone, like cone of moisture, I guess, that just attacked the one title. So I remember I at least salvaged the dice, kept them in a safe place. And then one day I lost those too, and it was curtains for my stock ticker game, or so I thought. now enter BGG. So about 7 years ago, I noticed somebody named Simul Crash uploaded a fan-made reimagined game board that looks great. And whoever that person is, they did an excellent job with it. And here's how it looks today. So I use cubes to track the prices, so I have something to grab onto instead of flat markers. And I laminated the track, and I put a spot of like poster tack on the bottom of each cube so they don't slide all around everywhere. Also, other people, users, uploaded scans of the money and stock certificates, all the game components actually, and a player aid that calculates dividend payouts, so you don't ever need a calculator. So now you can print and play the entire game just like I did. You just need to mod up your own set of dice. So now I'll show you how you can do that too. The game uses 3d6s. Each side of die number 1 just has an icon of a tradable stock on it. So there's six of them altogether. So for my copy of the game, this die has a gold, a technology, an industry, an oil, a grain, and a bond side to it. These are the 6 things you can buy shares in. I just found stock images online and printed them out. I used a glue stick to stick them onto a normal green D6. It looks good, I think. The second D6 has 2 red down arrows, 2 green up arrows, and 2 dividend symbol sides. Same thing, these are just stock images printed off, and I glued to a regular die. And the third D6 has 2 5-cent, 2 10-cent, and 2 20-cent facings. And the same process I used again to make this custom die. And a single 3d6 roll gets an individual share moving up or down in price by 5, 10, or 20 cents. If the dividend symbol gets rolled, the stock symbol rolled on die number 1 pays dividends by the increment indicated on the third D6 if the current price is above $1. So in my last game group, we decided that 15 of these 3d6 rolls seemed to be about right, the right amount of dice rolling needed to get interesting, significant swings between rounds of buying and selling. So for example, one 3d6 roll right now would result in, I'll just do it as an example, it would be a 10-cent dividend for grain. You would repeat that action 15 times to get your market movements. And at the end of each round, everyone gets an opportunity to buy and sell again, of course. And after round 1 of market rolls, you might get a chart that looks something like this. So in my last group, we decided that 6 game rounds total were enough to determine who was the best stock trader. So the main criticisms of this game are obvious. It's all luck, pure luck, the haters say. It's true, nobody controls the direction of the market. However, you do control what you own and whether you want to play it safe, collecting dividends, or gamble, buying cheaper stock, hoping for larger capital gains. Everything is a hard decision. There's a lot of tension inherent in buying into a random market. And I don't care ever if a game is luck-based. Honestly, as long as players have difficult choices to make every turn, which they do here. The theme feels spot on. The oh crap feeling you get when you're excited to buy something and then the price just tanks. It's realistic. In real life, if you make a bad investment, you have to decide now what? Do I cut my losses? Do you double down with diamond hands? Stay the course? Be patient? Will it pay off? Or turn into a fiasco? Conversely, when you pick a winner, the feeling is great. But when do you take profit? Because you don't want to ride something up and then all the way back down either. That's when greed comes into play. Greed is good, the famous line in Wall Street. You get to test the theory here. So in the forums of BGG, various people have suggested rules, mods that I have not necessarily tried myself, but I think are really cool as well, and I would try them any day. So one person suggested scrambling the market before the initial buy-in with a round of market rolls. So everything isn't $1 to start. I think that's an interesting variant. Another variant Could be a rule where each player is limited to just one sell order and one buy order only each turn after turn one. I think that's cool. You can buy anything to start, but after the market starts moving, your options are limited. I like it. The one important rules mod my group used in tournament play served as an important catch-up mechanism. So we said after calculating everyone's net worth at the end of every round, the person who was winning had to submit their market moves first, and this was public information. The person in last, conversely, could see what everyone else was doing before they submitted their moves. And it worked out well too, because if you were trailing, you always had hope. You could just go heavy into something that every other player was light in and pray the dice worked in your favor. So eventually our group found the best way to play stock ticker after everyone learned the rules and was familiar with the game was via PBM, so playing by email. And we didn't even need components anymore. It all took place over email. And PBM, by the way, is a lost art in my opinion. I'm old school and I miss play-by-email games. So I dug through the archives so I could show you an example of our old PBM stock ticker forums. And this goes back to 2017, although it feels like 50 years ago today looking back on some of these letters. So I'll disappear for a second and show you how we organized our games. So you can see I just redacted some of the personal information there with X's. And this is one of the girls that was playing in our group, and I guess she had like a really bad turn. I'm just going to crawl into a hole and die. We're halfway through this game. Things are getting interesting. So yeah, we always had started off with headline news. So oil price collapse, golden tech sectors rebound, no dividends on the horizon. And then this part isn't filled out, but that would be our die rolls results there. There was 20, I guess, we used instead of 15 in between rounds. And then it listed the share price for everything that you can invest in there. So you could see the price swings there. Oil was down to 50 cents on the third turn. And then we would have like a person's net worth there. And then we would have, what everyone held and highlighted green after they submitted their moves. And some of the comments are fun. You could like leave comments for other people. Gold Sachs sells out of tech and gold. Then Gold Sachs purchases bonds like a boss. I'm not sure if I guess I would have written that. And then, made it easy for players at the bottom, just saying if you wanted to buy 500 shares of grain, how much that would cost. And then if it was below or above par, red or green, and then an asterisk if it was eligible for a dividend. So yeah, that's what you got in the mail every time someone contributed to the thread. Anyway, I had a blast with stock ticker PBM tournaments, and I like how the story of the game develops slowly over a number of days. I like the passive nature of it. You get to think about your moves, you get to anticipate game moves and news via email, and there's a certain amount of excitement in getting those updates. And your game will tell a story, and the whole thing feels like more epic if it's spread out over days or weeks, depending on how fast people respond. So here's a certificate I made as a prize for our tournaments. I remember I also included an ounce of silver with it for first place. Silver was a lot cheaper back then. It was like about 14 bucks an ounce, and I think now it's like 25 or something. Anyway, the certificate is simply a copy of an actual old stock certificate I printed off and altered with a paint program. It just says, the typical stuff. You're the champion of stock ticker. Congratulations. And there's some personal details and stats related to the player's final score. So I hope I've encouraged you to try this classic game someday for yourself. Over the years, I've had way, way, way more fun playing this game than I ever would have imagined. It's so old now that it's basically public domain at this point. You can build a copy of yourself or buy a used copy for cheap. Either way, you might be surprised how much fun you can have with a long forgotten, simple classic title like Stock Ticker. And if this channel ever gets monetized one day, I'll run a Stock Ticker PBM tournament with any subscribers who might be interested in giving it a try. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more content coming soon.